everyone. Our topic for today is weather instruments. For today's lesson, we will be looking at weather instruments using teaching aids or actual instruments made from recycled or home materials, charts, and even photographs or teaching aids of such instruments. At the end of this lesson, we expect to have met our 4 main objectives, which are to identify and name 6 basic weather instruments. We're also going to be looking at the functions of each of those weather instruments. That is objective number 2. Objective 3, we're going to identify the weather element that each instrument is used to measure. And objective number 4 is to learn or master the art of improvisation of said weather instruments. Today we'll learn about some important tools that we use to measure and observe weather. Have you ever wondered or checked the temperature, or you looked at a weather forecast? I'm sure you would have done that at least once. Do you know how the meteorologists will know whether it will be rainy today, windy, or the humidity? They use these specific weather instruments to do predictions to say whether the weather for the day will be rainy, sunny, windy. In today's lesson, we will be looking at 6 of such weather instruments that are commonly used, that were made using simple materials that can be found at home. Please sit back and enjoy.
Everyone, I am Shimi Daly. I am currently a student at the Sericulture College of Education. I am attached to the Golden Grove Secondary School and also a social studies major. Now today I will be discussing something very interesting. We'll be talking about a specific instrument called the thermometer. Now I know you might be a little familiar with it, but today we'll be talking a little on it. Now this is what a thermometer looks like. So great. Now a thermometer is a device used to measure temperature of something, which is a measure of its hotness or coldness. Now there are different types of thermometers. We have in-frame thermometers, medical thermometers, clinical thermometers. And this one instrument has many uses and functions. Now the first one, it measures temperature. It can tell you how hot or how cold something is. It monitors body heat. I know if you have a flu, you can use a thermometer. Also check weather conditions. It helps in cooking. It is used in science experiments, and also it regulates indoor climate. Now that we would have understood what is a thermometer, the different types, and the functions, I have one small homework for you. Now, I want you to create your own model of a thermometer and bring it to our next class. Now here is another example of a thermometer. So you can use this one for reference. And that brings us to our short discussion on thermometer.
Good day, students. So today our topic is rain gauge. So we're going to be doing different things for our objective. I know last week we spoke a little about it when we were creating the rain gauge instrument, right? That's where we cut a bottle, we put a funnel, well, we created our own funnel, put some bricks, we also put a measurement, and we were able to put it outside, right? And we saw some rain came in, and we were able to go back and see how many rain or how much rain fell that day or that week, and we were able to measure. So today we're going to go in with the theory. What is a rain gauge? A rain gauge is a rain instrument. So it's a weather instrument. It shows how much rainfall fell. Right? So we're going to go in. Why do we need a rain gauge? Why? Is it to just see how much water we could collect? What is the importance of it? So we use a range gauge, or people use rain gauge to see for different reasons. Sometimes farmers use it to see how much water their crops is getting, see if the crops is getting enough water or little water. Also, we use rain gauge to see if we're going to have enough of drinking water, because we get our drinking water, pipe water or tap water from rainfall. So we're able to measure how much rainfall we got, we're able to know how much water we have, right? And different reasons. I know that you know some other reasons, so I'm going to allow you to go home and search up, do your little research, and come back to me next class telling me all about rain gauge and different things that you found in your research. That's it for today. Bye.
Good morning, students. My name is Miss Amelia Griffith, and today we'll be looking at the anemometer. This is a model that I would have made. So, anemometer, the name sounds really big, but it's actually really easy to understand and read. So, an anemometer, this is basically an instrument that measures the speed of the wind. It is mainly used in weather studies. So scientists and meteorologists would know how fast the wind is blowing. So when I made the model, I had to improvise with the materials. To make my own anemometer, I didn't buy anything fancy. Instead, I used a pencil with an eraser, you can see that here, a pin, five small cups, and 2 straws. That's it. All of these are everyday materials, and when you put them together, you're able to see how wind speed works. I basically pinned the straws at the middle onto the eraser of the pencil. Then I fixed the 4 cups on the ends of the straws, making sure that they all face the same direction, as you can see here. Now when the wind blows, the cups would catch the air and make the straw spin, like so. The faster that the wind blows, the faster the wind blows, the faster the cups would basically spin. By counting how many times the cups go around, we can estimate the wind speed. Real anemometers, however, are calibrated with scales, and that would give us the exact speed. Now, anemometers are very important, and you might be wondering exactly what they're used for. So, meteorologists would use anemometers to predict the weather. Pilots and sailors would also use it to know if conditions are safe, and that would be aviation and sailing, as you can see here on the board. And they even use it for farming. Farmers would use that so that they can know the best time for spraying their crops, for example. So in short, an anemometer is a simple but powerful instrument that is used to measure instruments. Now that has brought us to the end of our lesson.
Hello again, everyone. My topic that I'll be focusing on today is wind vane. As we know, the function of the wind vane is to measure or show wind direction. And the main focus today is to show that we would have used improvisation to make a model of a wind vane. We use cardboard, cup, straw, pencil, and paper. The wind is not strong outside, so we'll do an indoor demonstration of this wind vane in use. In a brief demonstration, you would have seen that the arrow was pointing in a southern direction where the wind was actually coming from. And why would you think a pilot or a ship captain would need to have a wind vane to show wind direction? Or even, what does the direction of the wind say about the weather? Since we would have done an indoor demonstration, it would have shown that it's very windy and it gives us the direction that that wind is coming from. Here we have a poster with some more insights or more in-depth details on wind vane. We have the definition, where it shows a wind vane is a tool that shows direction from which the wind is blowing, which would have demonstrated in our little exhibition there. We have purpose to measure wind direction, helping weather forecasting and monitoring local weather. Operation. So the wind vane, as you can see, it's mounted on a rod or pole. The pencil will be the rod or the pole, so it can spin freely. We have the pencil there, and on the end we have a arrow tail. This is the tail, and the other points, this part here points towards the wind direction, and it's back. When the wind blows, it pushes the broader end towards the way the wind is coming from, and it turns the arrow into the wind. So we would have seen that there. We also have some real world uses of the wind vane. It's used at the weather station. It's used at airport. That's what I asked about the pilots, to help the pilots understand the runway wind condition. It's used by sailors in their ships to navigate the wind at sea, to help them in their sailing. It's used in farms, and even as decoration on some homes. And that brings me to the end of today's lesson on wind vane. Thank you.
Hi students, so today we're going to be talking about a very interesting and exciting weather instrument. It's called the weather balloon. Now, have you ever wondered to yourself, how do scientists predict the weather? How are they able to tell citizens of a country that it's gonna rain tomorrow, it's gonna be sunny tomorrow, maybe it's gonna be overcast, hurricane, those type of stuff, right? So there's one particular instrument. It's called the weather balloon. What they do, it's a helium balloon that they would fill up, right? And it's made up of latex usually. So they would fill it up and they would send it off into the air using a special instrument, right? Now, once the weather balloon is launched, once it's launched into the air, the balloon rises to a certain atmosphere way up. So you see how if you've ever traveled or watched movies with planes before, how high a plane usually is up in the air, usually sometimes within the clouds too. That's how high, just to give you an idea of how high a weather balloon would go. So the weather balloon would go all the way up into the air, and then it would gradually come back down once it has got the reading. So they usually check for the temperature, the humidity, and stuff like that, right? Now it carries instruments called a radius cone. So now the radius cone helps to measure things, like I said, the temperature, humidity, stuff like that, right? So that it makes it a bit more easier for the scientists, the meteorologists, and them to know exactly what the weather is going to be like. No, it's not every single time they give us, the people of a country, the weather report, it's going to be 100% accurate to what they're saying. For example, they can say tomorrow it's going to be sunny and then it ends up raining. Remember, they can only read or predict what they see, right? At the end of the day, anything is possible, right? So you shouldn't be upset or annoyed when you're prepared for a nice sunny day, or you're prepared for a nice rainy cozy day indoors, and then it's a total opposite. Okay, they're only humans, they can only predict what they see. They have no control over that, right? Now, to follow up, as the balloon is sent up into the air, like I said, it meets the meteorologists, and they're able to forecast the weather. Now eventually the weather balloon would burst, so it bursts eventually, and then it falls back down onto earth, right? Now, other than the weather balloon, there are many other instruments that help to predict the weather, but this is one of the important ones, right? So no weather instrument should be left unturned or looked at as unimportant. Okay, so the weather balloon plays a very important and vital role in predicting the weather, right?
Today, students will be doing a recap of our 6 weather instruments. So first we have, this is a what? This is an altimeter. An altimeter is used to measure the speed of the wind, right? Then we have, what do we have here? A wind veil. So the wind veil is used for the direction of the wind. We learned about that. And then we have this one, a barometer. And I know this was very new to you, and this is used to measure the pressure of the air. And then we have the thermometer. Everybody knows what is a thermometer. It is used to measure the temperature. And then we have, here we have the weather balloon. So it gathers information from the atmosphere. And I know that was a fun experiment that we did. And finally, we have the rain gauge, right? These are all very important because it tells us when there is danger, it tells us about the environment, it tells us when we have famine. So if you want nice, good vegetables, we use these instruments today to secure our safety and also to help the environment. So for us to know, or to us to be in the know, we use these instruments. And I'm so glad that we did this. So the question for today is, if you had to create a weather instrument, what would it be? Until next class. Bye, students.